Do it.
All righty. Here they come.
Hello, everyone.
Terry, I just disabled the waiting room.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome.
Cool. Well, now we have everybody who's was in the waiting rooms now in the room. So hi, everybody. Welcome.
How's everybody doing today?
Pardon?
I said, how is everybody doing today?
Yep.
Welcome to TAGCon 2023. Thank you, Vera. Thank you, ladies, for hosting us today for this wonderful entertainment panel. We have some great guests today with me. All of these are friends of mine. I love them all dearly. They're all fantastic, wonderful, amazing people. That's why they're here. So I'm going to intro each one of them. It's going to be a little lengthy, so bear with me and enjoy our story about each one of our fantastic guests today. First, Hayley Babcock. She's a media and television executive, also a producer. Hayley is a widely respected television executive known for her exceptional mix of creative and business skills, worldwide network of contacts and expertise in formats, both scripted and unscripted. Ms. Babcock has built strong relationships in the global entertainment industry through holding senior executive positions at 20th Century Fox, Sony Studios, Sony Pictures Television, A&E Networks, CBS International in the US, as well as RTL Television and Fremantle Media in Germany. Find that experience.
You sound like an infectious disease specialist. You got it.
What's going on there? Who's
ready? Ready to make a grown man cry. Where's I at?
Christina,
everyone needs. If you know,
I think we need to mute.
microphones on silent. I think we're getting.
There we go.
feedback.
Okay, sorry. There we go. We'll continue. Ms. Babcock now runs HBMC Hayley Babcock Media Consulting, which provides clients and market strategy guidance, content development collaboration, format sales, executive producing services, and new business development, all while utilizing her unparalleled skill in bridging the divide between the US and international markets. Next, we have the wonderful Dahlia Waingort Guigui, who is a producer, actor, production manager, and has worked all the positions in TV and film. She's currently the COO and head of production at Sunset Pictures, is a member of the PGA and SAG-AFTRA, and a founding member, along with Jimmy Smits, Sonia Braga, and Isai Morales, of the National Hispanic Foundation for the Arts. Dahlia was a financing consultant on the award-winning documentary Blackfish, and produced the documentary series Newman, Hero with a Thousand Faces, and Stronger for Life. She recently produced the feature film Sweetwater, which is amazing. You need to go see it or watch it on demand. 9/11, The Bronx Bull, the hit thriller Beneath the Darkness starring Dennis Quaid, Paradise Cove, and The Fight That Never Ends. She has performed in London's National Theatre production of Twelfth Night, John Anson Ford's theater production of Much Ado About Nothing in Los Angeles. She's also appeared alongside Anne Margaret, Sonia Braga as a series regular on the CBS drama series Four Corners, had a recurring guest star in Felicity, worked with Burt Reynolds in Hard Time, co-starred in America's Most Wanted Criminal Minds, Suspect Behavior with Forrest Whitaker, had recurring roles on HBO hit series True Blood and the ABC family series Jane by Design. Recently, she starred in Selfie Dad and The Muppets for Disney. Next, we have the fantastic Chiet Enggren, who is a casting director and actor. Chiet has been a casting director for over 30 years, casting thousands of commercials and films. She has a BFA from California Institute of the Arts and a background in acting, so she has an understanding of actors and the talents necessary to deliver the perfect performance. She has been involved in every aspect of the entertainment world. Recently, she's worked on a series of indie films and cast a number of voices for Illumination animated films. She usually casts at least 3 or 4 commercials for the Super Bowl each year. And as an actress, Chiet has appeared in Criminal Minds, Truth Be Told, House, West Wing, 6 Feet Under, and Meet the Blacks, and has done hundreds of commercials and lots of soaps.
And today's her birthday.
And today's her birthday, so happy birthday, Chiet.
Happy birthday.
Next, we have Shiva Negar, who is an actor and soon to be also writing and producing. Shiva is a talented and accomplished actress known for her captivating performances in both film and television. Born in Iran, raised in Turkey and Canada, Shiva developed a passion for acting at a young age and pursued her dreams with determination and dedication. After completing her education in Toronto, Canada, she embarked on her acting career. Her breakthrough came in 2017 when she portrayed the lead role of Annika in the action thriller film American Assassin. Her powerful portrayal and remarkable on-screen presence garnered critical acclaim and made her a rising star in Hollywood. Since then, Shiva has continued to showcase her acting prowess in various projects. She recently starred in 2 feature films released this year called The Threat Next Door, a Tubi original, and Burned by Love, which was originally a Lifetime movie and is now on Amazon. Both inspired by true stories. She also makes her mark on the small screen with notable recurring roles on Fox as the cleaning lady in the military drama SEAL Team. We have Rachel Marsh, who is also an actress or actor. Rachel is a breakout star in the latest Netflix hit original series Unstable, co-starring father and son duo Rob Lowe and Johnny Owen Lowe, who also serve as creators alongside Victor Fresco. Marsh stars as Luna Castillo, the quirky yet quippy biotech engineer who's working on Dragon's carbon-to-concrete project in his game-changing experimental Red Lab. Additional television credits for Rachel include iCarly for Paramount, HBO Max series Head of the Class, the reboot, the Disney Plus supernatural comedy Just Beyond, and Rachel got her start in love of acting through improv comedy, where she performs regularly week to week at Upright Citizens Brigade every Monday night. And last but not least, we have Brad Chiet, who is a music composer and producer. Brad is a multi-instrumentalist, composer, and arranger for TV and film. He's been working in Los Angeles, he says, since before Friends aired, so I guess that's a long time. Originally from New York, he has won multiple awards for his original compositions, international and domestic television work. His music can be heard on top network shows, including Deal or No Deal, The Wall, Extreme Home Makeover, Saturday Night Live, Super Nanny, and my favorite show, Oh Sip, amongst many others. That is our introductions to our fantastic people. The panel's over now.
Richard, that was,
Hi, guys. Take care.
we need to unmute everyone, I think. Everybody's muted for some reason.
Although I have sort of introduced you, I have not really introduced you. And what I'd love to hear first for our fans is, obviously you're all here now working successful, but this was not an easy road to get here. So kind of tell me how you got here, if you want, and the struggles, anything that might have been along the way, and what you do now as in your position. Anybody wants to start? Haley, great. Thank you, Haley.
So happy to volunteer.
Haley's awesome.
Hi, everybody. Look, the entertainment industry, I guarantee you, even though I don't know the backstories of any of my esteemed panel colleagues here, we all have different stories. It's all a unique and bizarre path to how we got where we got. There are many people who are in the industry because their family and friends and neighbors are in the industry, just like people who work in the Detroit area. A lot of them work in the car industry. It's the industry of a town. But on the other hand, people get there in very quirky ways. I myself started in talk radio producing, actually. Years ago, when I grew up here in Southern California, my mom and dad listened to AM talk radio. Back then, it was not what it is today. It was not a one-sided, bombastic, loud, obnoxious, pushing a point of view kind of radio. It was more news-oriented, talk show-oriented, broad-based. And they listened to a particular show. I listened to it growing up. When I was after college, I had gone on a job interview. I had a nice little suit on. I had my resume with me. I was driving in Westwood. I was listening to that radio station. They said, today we're broadcasting from UCLA. Rather than taking calls from the audience, from people out in the world, we're taking questions from the audience. If you're in the neighborhood, come on by. And I was right there. I graduated from UCLA. I knew exactly where to park. I went, I parked, I sat in the audience. I raised my hand to ask a question. I got on the air. And after that, I gave my resume to the program director and said, I want to do what you do. I want to work here. Wow. And I waited 3 months to get a call from them. And I did jobs and waited tables until I got a call and got an interview and got a gig and went from radio to television, and the rest is sort of history.
Awesome. Awesome. Dahlia?
So I grew up wanting to be an actress. I went to performing arts school since I was 5 years old in Miami and the East Coast, and knew that when I was little, I thought I wanted to be a lawyer. So I knew that lawyers had to be actors. And so that's why I was studying that. And then I fell in love with it somewhere around high school. I was like, no, this is definitely what I want to do. I went to England to study theater, and I moved to LA by default. I was going to move to New York, do theater in New York. And a friend of mine was producing a play in a vineyard outside of Santa Barbara, like the most magical experience. And it was a Shakespeare play. And they said, "Oh, I know you just did Shakespeare for the last couple of years in England. Why don't you come and be with us in this play for the next couple of weeks?" And I never left. It's been 26 years, 27 years, and I absolutely love it. But I started, from the ground up and producing. It was, again, it was kind of by default. I was on a film that my now husband, who was a second-time director, I was acting in the movie, and the producers had no idea what they were doing. They started a war with the union, and people were picketing us, and the production was going to get shut down. And so I went and I started talking to the union bosses and said, "Please don't shut us down. What do we need to do?" And by some miraculous way of negotiating with them, we got to continue our production. And so by the fire, so to speak, I started producing 20 years ago, and I still act whenever I can. Richard just saw a movie that I produced, but I was fortunate enough to have a small role in it, and it's always great to be able to wear both hats and do that. But again, you said it right. I mean, the life of how we get to this place is there's no straight and even path. My kids are now growing up in a world that hopefully will be easier for them, because we've been able to be here and make relationships, and they all are in the industry. They love music and film, and that's what they truly want to do. But they will have more doors open to them than I ever had, hopefully, because of the relationships that I've forged. So
Awesome. Rachel, tell us about your journey. How'd you get here?
Oh, sure. Yeah, I'm from Seattle. I'm from a small town in Seattle. I never grew up wanting to be an actor. Never really knew anyone that was in the arts. And I moved to LA to pursue marketing, nonprofit work. And I remember like a ton of my friends at my school here in LA were taking improv classes and acting classes for fun. And I truly didn't know that you could like make a living being an actor or being in commercials or anything like that. And so I never thought it was for me, but I tried it for fun because I really hated my job. I was working at an ad agency, and I had tried out a few different careers. I worked at a wedding planning agency. I co-owned a coffee shop. I really had tried like a bunch of stuff, and took a few improv classes and just fell in love with it. And yeah, I really attribute like my success to that stage and just being able to find my voice and find my sense of humor and really just find my confidence performing. And yeah, from then I that's all I wanted to do. I started making money in commercials, and then eventually getting theatrical jobs, and just this year got my first series regular. And so yeah, I just feel like this is the path for me. There's been tons of ups and downs. Oh my gosh. I could go on a whole 1 hour story about the downs, but yeah, I just feel really lucky to be able to do this and make a living doing it.
Thank you. Awesome. Shiva.
Just kidding. Where do I even start? So acting was always, I think, in my blood. We migrated, so I'm from Iran. I was born in Iran, and we went to Turkey. I lived in Istanbul for about 5 years, and that's where I started theater work when I was a kid. And when we moved to Canada, that's where I started my acting career. The way it happened was I was actually first year university, and I walked into a set. I can't remember exactly which film it was. It was a feature that they were shooting on campus, and it was summertime, and that scene, it just took me in. I was like, what is this? How can I get into this? I have absolutely no one in my family or friends that know anything about acting, about the industry at all. So it was very hard for me to find my way and find how to go about even pursuing a career in acting. And it was workshops after workshops. I had to work full time and go to school full time, growing up with a single mom. So everything I made, all the money I made, my friends were, buying cars and designer purses, and I was just putting them through acting workshops. And I took an leave of absence. I had a corporate job at the time, and I came to LA, and I went to New York Film Academy. I did get my degree in psychology because I wasn't allowed by my family to study acting, because Middle Eastern families, and they're like, what is that? You have to become a doctor or an engineer or a lawyer, or else there's no other jobs in their books. Like, they don't know anything about other jobs. So I got my psychology degree, and I was like, here, Mom, this is my degree, but I'm not going to pursue that. But I got it. Now let me do my thing. So it took a long time. I was really typecasted, and which is a part of the business. It took a while until, people took me seriously, audition after audition. I'm grateful that I started my career in Toronto. It's smaller community. There's literally a handful of casting directors that are active, so that way you work your way up a lot faster. Where it's a lake, and after years of having something under my belt in my resume, and I got representation in LA, then I decided to jump from the lake to the ocean, and boy, was that an ocean in LA. I mean, there's so for me, it's obviously been a very, very, very tough journey, but I'm grateful because I know how tough it is to even make it. There are people here I know that have been here 20 years and you haven't really had a break, and so I'm very grateful. And it's a milestone for me to even being a lead in a Lifetime movie. For me, it's a big milestone because I'm not used to growing up seeing anyone that looked like me, a Middle Eastern, being a lead in a Lifetime movie. So I felt like that was, to me, that was a huge gratitude, to be able to work. And I think the world is changing from typecasting. We still have a long way to go, but I think it's getting much better. And yeah, so I've been in LA on my own for about 7 years now, doing my thing and hustling.
Awesome. Thank you. Appreciate that. Brad Chiet, I know you've got an interesting start to your career.
Well, no, I mean, it's a little bit of a mix of what other people have said. Like Shiva, my family, it was like, you were going to be a doctor, you were going to be a lawyer or an engineer, and that was it. And like Dahlia, I didn't even know, or I guess it was Rachel, like I didn't even know there was an option to do music. So I had no idea that was even something you could do for a living, unless you were in Motley Crue or something like that. Then, but I wasn't quite that type. So I ended up getting an engineering degree, and I wanted to be a car designer and work on cars and be creative in that way. And then when I graduated, I ended up getting a job that seems like it would be really cool. I ended up working in aerospace and defense on the F-18 and all these cool planes. But, when you work for like a big corporation like that, you really get pigeonholed in what you can do, and it's not creative at all. And I found it super stifling. And then I just thought, what would I do if I won the lottery and money wasn't a factor? And I thought, well, if I won the lottery, I would like quit my job, buy music equipment, and just write music. And I used to, like, when I was an engineer, I'd sneak home and I'd write songs like on a little cassette machine, because that's all we had. And I was getting stuff played on like the local radio, and it was like so exciting. So I thought, like, if I won the lottery, I would definitely quit my job, buy music, and then do that. And then I thought, well, why don't I just quit my job and do music? And then even if I don't make any money, I'll be living like I won the lottery. So that was my thought. And, and then I read somewhere that most people spend more time planning a vacation than they do planning their life, which is kind of weird. So I really thought about, what my life is and what I wanted to do and where I wanted to be. I tell my kids, it's not a coincidence that I ended up living in California as a composer for film and TV. I mean, that was like a long plan and a lot of changes and adjustments and, good things and bad things, but it's just what I decided I needed to do to be happy, or I would not be happy doing something else. So, I came out here, sold everything, drove cross country with everything packed up in my old Chevy, and just, years working at it. Finally, I started off doing rap songs for people's birthdays. So I had this company, Gift Wrap, and I put an ad in the New Yorker and a little ad in the back of the New Yorker magazine, and like some very, rich, influential people would send me all this information about their spouse or their, loved one or whatever. And then I do like this roast rap. So it was pretty funny. And then, I started getting some commercial work, and then started, eventually got into TV and a bunch of shows and stuff. So it's been really cool. And it's really been fulfilling when you do something you really want to do yourself and kind of make your own way. And, it's been awesome.
Thank you. And tell us what your job was when you were an engineer, Brett.
Okay. So, when you think like, oh, I was working on aircraft, that sounds so cool. It really wasn't the greatest job. And so this is the thing: when you work for a government contractor, the government wants to know how much things cost. So when you're building these jet planes, and they don't build a lot, you have to figure out, like, how do you know what the plane cost to make when you don't make many, or sometimes even before you make it? So somebody was very clever. And if you ever look at an airplane and you look up close, it's like a lot of, you'll notice all these little rivet holes. So it's just like little pieces of sheet metal just riveted together. And the cost of the plane is basically the man hour to drill the hole and stick a rivet in. So if you know how many holes are in the plane and you adjust for like a big piece or a little piece, you can guesstimate how much it costs to build. So my job as an engineer was to go down on the floor where they build the plane and kind of watch the guy and count how many holes were in the parts. So I was basically counting holes in the plane parts. That was my engineering job. So I was like, I can't do this. So my parents were like, didn't want me to quit. I think my dad was afraid I was going to move back home, but I stayed 1 year, actually 1 year and 3 days, because it was my 1 year was on a Wednesday. So I stayed till Friday. I was, very respectful. And then I just packed up and went to California and was doing the rap songs and just meeting people. And this is before the internet, man. You had to like go to the library and find out where production companies are and like have a big whiteboard and call people and mark it off. And, so it was a lot of, trying to be clever and try different things. And I think to be an entrepreneur, no matter what your trade is, you have to be pretty smart. And, everybody on this panel, to make it to where you are, it does take talent and things like that. But I also think that it takes a lot of grit and a lot of working at it and a lot of being smart and clever and trying to figure out ways to get in and make it happen. So
tenacity, I think that's something we all have in common, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
It's you're going up, as Shiva had said, moving to LA is like moving to the ocean from a lake. In all of our industries and what we do, there are hundreds of talented people doing what we do, if not thousands. And the difference between being one of the people who is fortunate enough to be able to work in this industry and climb the particular ladders we're on versus someone who doesn't, is a little bit of luck and good timing, certainly, and a lot of tenacity. And every one of us, I'm willing to guarantee, has heard no more times than we've heard yes. You just keep going and you just learn from the no and you try and come at it from another direction and keep hanging on, right?
Right. And I think the luck is, you keep working and working, and everybody gets a lucky break once in a while. But when you're prepared, when that lucky thing happens, that's, when things happen. So, you might get a lucky break 1 year, 3 year, 5 years, but, we're preparing all the way and working our craft and figuring it out. So and sticking with it. And someone told me, like, he says, anybody can make it in this town as long as they take at least 7 years. Like, if you're willing to not quit for at least 7 years, you'll probably, get some headway.
So I don't want to take up Kate's time, but the latest project that I just finished took 28 years to make. My husband's been working on it for 28 years. I've been working on it for 23. And
Wow.
we say we took 1 million meetings. I mean, maybe 1,000, but I would say 1,000 legit. And yeah, there were probably 989 no's. Just a couple of yeses along the way.
I think that's something that for all of us and anybody in this business, people don't realize. It can take years of struggling, years of putting a project together. So somebody sees it come out in the theater, like your Sweetwater, they just think, oh, you did this in the last year or two, but there's 25, 30 years of hard work, sweat, meetings, ups and downs, thinking you have it, thinking you don't, to get that one film made. And the struggle this business is never really seen or heard by so many, by the average person. People in the business, we know the struggle of what we have to do, but those outside never see the hard work and the struggles of working 5 different jobs until you can actually have an acting role that pays you, or a producing job that pays you. So, kudos to you and Martin for sticking with it for all those years. It's a beautiful film.
One thing I want to add also is one thing that's different with our industry or art industry is it's not like if you're working as an executive in corporate or in a bank where you can start as, let's say, an assistant or a teller, and then you work your way up, you become a supervisor, you become a manager, you become the CEO, you move up. It's not like that with us. You can go up to the top of the mountain, the peak of your career, you do one project that becomes a hit, then you're on top. As soon as that's done, you go right back down and you're going to work your way up again for another project. It doesn't mean that the next how many projects that you're a part of is going to be a hit necessarily. So it's very up and down, and that can really affect you psychologically. So you've got to be very resilient to be able to keep going and keep moving for years and years.
I thought that was only in music, but I guess not.
No.
Oh no.
All right, Kate, let's hear your story.
It's in everything. Yeah, I'm similar to all of you. I am from a very small town in Colorado, which is where I grew up, and my father was the county judge and an attorney, and I wanted to do acting, and I wanted to be a roller skating waitress at the A&W, and my dad said, nope, you're coming to work in the law office. So I started in a law office, and I learned a lot of stuff, which actually I'm very grateful for now because it's helped. I think having somewhat of a business sense or background in this industry is very, very good and beneficial. I've been casting for a long time. I went to work when I came out to LA, to be an actor, had no money. I started at this place where you could work for free and you could take classes like casting director, workshops, and you could meet casting people. So I went to work in an office, and of course my training was at a legal office. So I was very good at running the office. So within a month or two, I was kind of running the studio. And then I started helping out casting directors, and I just fell into it. I had a client come up and said, why are you working for her? You should be doing this on your own. And so I got into casting, and talk about odds. And people never know, like for people out there, when you watch TV and you see commercials and that kind of thing, you have no idea what the odds are like. When we put out a breakdown, say for 20 to 30-year-old, female, any ethnicity, that type of thing, we get about 6,000 submissions. And out of those 6,000 submissions, we go through it and narrow it down based on either people we know their talent, or we know their agent or their reputation. They have a great resume, whatever it is. And we narrow it down. And we usually, depending on the budget of the project, can see maybe 100 people of that category, but more than likely, it's usually like 24 to 34 people out of 6,000 that we can actually give the chance to audition to. So then those people come in and audition, and then it goes to the clients and the director, and, they go through it and narrow it down to about 10 people or so for callbacks. I mean, if it's a bigger budget, obviously it's more, but the odds are really amazing, and I meet people and they go, oh, you're in casting. Hey, if there's ever anything I'd be right for. And I'm like, yeah, you and 6,000 other people, and it's just get some training, get out there, try. I mean, it's very similar. I know all of us have either done an audition or presented a project or a script or a film, or a music piece that is rejected, and you just keep trying and you do it again and you do it again. And so I still work in acting and casting. And I actually just bought a casting director workshop company. So we do that so that actors can get a chance to meet some of the casting directors, so that out of those 6,000 pictures, oh, I remember her. I met her. She was good. I'll bring her in, that kind of thing. And, if there's ever a role that's right for you, it could take 5 years or 10 years for there to be a role that's right for you. So that's where the resilience and, all of that comes in. You can't give up, and you can't doubt yourself. You just have to love the dream and believe in it and keep going.
So well said. I want to share a little anecdote. In my role at Sony Pictures TV, when I oversaw international production and creative of programs that are called unscripted, things that are without actors and actresses and scripts, rather shows like game shows, reality shows, and so forth. One of the things I was responsible for was Who Wants to Be a Millionaire and its productions around the globe. And having spoken with, knowing the people who first created that show, the people who created it at a small company in England called Celador, the company was called Celador, they took that show out to broadcasters in England for 5 years. They pitched that show for 5 years before it ever got commissioned. They believed in it. They went to every single channel and said, do you want to do this? Every channel that did game shows. They got no's, they got maybe this needs to change, maybe that's not right. They would go back, they would work on it some more. Inevitably, in our industry, in television and many times in film, the executives who sit in larger seats at broadcasters, at channels, there's a lot of churn. People don't stay in those roles for 20 years. They move up or they move on, or a new boss comes in and brings in his or her own people, etc. So the people at Celador waited for those musical chairs to play and a new executive to come in, and they'd go pitch it again, and a new executive at the BBC, and they would pitch it again, and a new executive at Channel 5, and they would pitch it again. They waited for 5 years, and then look what happened. So a 5-year overnight success, right? So you gotta believe. Believe in the dream. Keep believing in the dream. Keep loving the dream. I love the way you said that, Kate. Keep loving the dream, because then you don't give up and you just keep going.
Awesome. I love all of it. Okay, so let's talk about what is happening right now currently, which is the writer's strike, which is about to enter its 4th week. We know why the writers are striking. They want, working wages. They want to be able to survive and live and have a career. And currently they're not making that or getting that. And we have a potential Screen Actors Guild strike coming up and a potential Directors Guild strike coming up. But how is the Writers Guild strike currently affecting all of you? I know it's only 3 weeks in, but how is it affecting you today and going forward? Anybody who wants to jump in and start?
It's definitely taken its toll. I mean, you can see people are worried. There's a lot of people in the Screen Actors Guild, which I'm a member of, and several of you are, that we're going out and supporting and being with them, marching with them, standing with them, whatever, because it affects all of, I mean, they kind of all work very much in sync. And commercially, we are still doing commercials because it's under a different contract. And it's the writing is written by advertising agencies and that type of thing. So it doesn't fall under that. So there still are some happening. But you definitely feel it in town. I mean, it just feels like it's slowed down, or everybody's out of town. They're gone somewhere because they can, because nothing's happening. And there's a lot of important issues that are at stake that they're dealing with. And I think, it affects probably all of us on this panel in various ways.
So I have an office at Warner Brothers, and so going into the office every day, or whenever I go, is it's hard. There's picketers at every gate, and I'm a SAG member. I'm a PGA member. We're standing in solidarity and with everyone. My husband is a Writers Guild and a Directors Guild member, and so we're a union family, but at the same time, we are developing projects. We have a film that we are going into production on because we had the script written and done before. Exactly. So, from a situation of the studio, I have accessibility that I may not have had from, even though we're an independent, so we're not being financed by the studio. They want production to happen when there's nothing going on. But my driver called, the transpo coordinator called me today and said, I don't know if I can bring wood in through the picket line. He said we have some issues coming into the studio lot at this moment, and so it's going to depend on what things happen. But right now we're, if you can get wood from inside the studio to build, then then maybe, but I don't think I can bring it through. And so, it's all sorts of, the connective tissue of the entire infrastructure is what we're having to deal with. So it affects everybody.
It definitely affects everybody. And obviously the Teamsters, IATSE, everybody's backing the Writers Guild, the Screen Actors Guild, Producers Guild, as we should, to make sure that we, everybody gets their fair share going forward. But that's definitely a dilemma to try and figure out how to keep production going when it's not possible to actually make production happen.
I had a question, maybe for more Hayley or Dahlia's. Have you noticed like more non-scripted stuff happening now, or is that going to shift where the networks or productions are going? Or are people doing more non-scripted or reality, or what are they going to, or game shows?
Yeah, I know absolutely. You could talk as well about it, Hayley. No, at Warner, they had a whole regime change, so it's Discovery. And so they were acquiring a lot of finished product as opposed to trying to make production from the get-go. And I do think that there is a shift to a lot of reality and game show stuff that may be more accessible now, but Hayley, you probably have more.
I think so. I read an article recently that likened the current writer's strike here in our industry in the United States to the coal striking that happened in England, back in the early 1900s, which is the coal miners there didn't understand that the world they were working in was changing, and that coal was no longer the end all and be all for heating. And I think the writers here and the channels and the platforms are all recognizing it's a new world order with things like Netflix and Tubi and Roku and YouTube. And so this strike that is happening now with the writers is happening because their contract was up. I'm telling not the panelists, but everybody else. And the last time there was a writer's strike around 2007, it did increase unscripted television, reality shows, game shows. This time around, a lot of the channels and a lot of the what we call platforms, you guys, the streamers, Amazon and Apple TV and all of that, they knew that a strike could be coming. So they stocked up on a lot of coal already, if you will. They stocked up on a lot of films, a lot of series, both bought from outside of the United States and inside. They stocked up on a lot of episodes. So we're not going to be seeing an increase in production of unscripted just yet. Here's what I think is going to happen. And Richard and I were both at something called Content LA the last 2 days, which is sort of a small market. And I did a couple of panels there. And I think what happened last time is probably going to happen this time. Once the Directors Guild and the Screen Actors Guild contracts are up, which I think is around July.
Yep.
Then when you guys with those hats on start seeing what kind of negotiation happens for you, and if you are as far apart with those in power for commissioning your shows as the writers are now, and you all come together, that's when a shift is going to happen. Because I think come September, all of these broadcasters are going to run out of stuff that they already have on the shelf.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to start to hurt. So yes, game shows, reality shows, so competition shows are going to increase, but I think the leverage that everybody in the union has to get a better deal is also going to increase. But I think one of the most important things that everybody on both sides of the table need to keep in mind is it's a new world order. Things don't broadcast the way they used to. Money doesn't trickle down the way it used to. Advertising is not what it used to be. Money doesn't come to the table via advertising the way it used to. And now with AI in the mix, talking about AI and writing, like there are big shifts and changes that need to happen that everybody in the union needs to almost predict the future and figure out what do we have to predict for and change and protect ourselves for 5 years from now, even though we don't know what's going to be created. So I think it's going to be a tough fight, but I think it's a really important one.
Mhm.
Everything is on hold right now. I mean, at least from my experience, I felt this whole thing from top of the year, really, because everything was sort of pending strike, pending this, and a lot of things that I was up for, or casting stopped doing theatrically. I know commercials are still going, but theatrical, the casting stopped. I was up for this one project. It fell through because of the strike. There's another film that's supposed to be in August, and now we don't know if I can do it because SAG might go on strike. So everything is sort of have come to a halt. And, you know, in my experience, and we're just sort of waiting around to see what's going to happen. It's pretty scary. And like you said, the AI, we need to evolve as the technology is evolving.
Yeah. And I would say, especially for actors, it's scary because, you know, when the contracts are up again in July for SAG, I do feel like it's an opportunity for us to put our foot down in AI, especially in perpetuity. You know, it used to mean something totally different, but now with AI and technology, we don't even know what, you know, where our likeness could be and how it could be used, and we will never see the money or residuals for that. And yeah, there's just so many things that I think the writers and actors and everyone in this industry are fighting for and against. And I think the core of it is just corporate greed in general and just not being able to share the wealth. And so yeah, I really do, like, for me, I'm really feeling it hard because we were in pre-production for Unstable season 2, and we got shut down. And, you know, of course I want to go back to work, but like the number one priority is getting this right, because I think we have an opportunity now before another 7 years goes by and we don't do something about it. So yeah, I'm excited for, you know, the unions all coming together and getting what we want and standing up against the corporations. Even though Netflix is my daddy, I do feel like this is something that we have to go through together.
It's I completely agree with all of that. And I think, Hayley, what you said is so apropos about they need to look 5 years down the road, because when the strike happened in '93 and the Screen Actors Guild struck, they were working on various contracts and different things, and it was right as, you know, the internet and all that was kind of starting to happen, but they didn't see it. They didn't look ahead. And so they just completely ignored it. And it's one of the reasons we're all kind of screwed right now. I mean, can I say that? Sorry. Because they didn't look ahead. And so I think it is really important that they look at these things like AI and what it means and all of that, because some huge changes came because of that strike. It caused a lot of non-union stuff to start happening. A lot of reality TV started happening. A lot of, you know, just a lot of changes that the industry had never seen before. And, you know, it creates a lot of havoc. And so I do think they need to get this right and really, you know, stand strong and let's make this happen, kind of
And
thing.
not look backwards for what they want, for what needs to be negotiated. Look forward.
Absolutely.
Looking backward is going to get everybody in trouble, because residuals, that word doesn't mean anything anymore if we're moving in the direction of platforms just putting something out there and on demand and all of that, right? So there's got to be another way for you to get compensated for the work you do as writers, as actors, composers. AI, having your initial style copied by a machine and somebody utilizing AI to put music under their movie rather than work with composers. There's got to be some protections for your original creation and your work, for your likeness as an actor. You know, all of that needs to be thought about and negotiated now, even though it's not quite there yet, I think.
Well, it's interesting because it is almost there, because people can write scripts now without having to actually write it. So if you think about AI and saying, you know, some of the things that they're trying to get through is, hey, you know, you can use AI to write a script and you go in and do a little enhancement, changes and a little touch up, and now it's your work as a writer. And it's not. And we need the writers to write from their heart, from their soul, the passion, the project. I don't think any of us want to go and, whether it be an actor, a composer, producer, to produce something that was generated by a computer. And there's no heart and soul there. And so I think it is easy. I know people that are writing projects using AI right now. And so I think, as Rachel said, it can also be used. Somebody just sent me something where you can duplicate yourself as a avatar now and using your phone, make it talk and move, and you think it's you. And so it is, how do we protect
deep fakes, that's what they are.
How do we protect ourselves in all capacities of business not to be replaced by a computer is super important. So I don't even thinking 5 years down the line, but also thinking today, this is happening as we speak.
Right. And I think what you were saying about the heart and soul, I mean, it's why all of us are in this creative industry, because we love what the heart and soul brings, the emotions, all of that. And AI, there's no imagination. It's gathered off data, off a computer, there's no imagination to it. It's because it's just bits of data put together. And it doesn't mean it's not good data. I mean, some of them are great, but it should not be allowed to overtake, the industry of television, film, music, etc.
And if I can add something as a consumer who is watching these things, I want to watch something with some heart.
Yeah.
I don't want to watch a show that's okay. What's the point? Give me some heart, give me a reason to want to watch this program.
Right.
And that's from the consumer's point of view.
No, absolutely. I mean, there's so many thousands of channels and ways of watching whatever content you're interested in, and to grab somebody's attention and and make them feel something. You're absolutely right. There's enough crap out there that is written by people that it would be nice to just have that continue on and have great work. But the music industry, my husband is in the music industry, and he was saying that there is a way that AI can be used in a productive manner, right? So sometimes artists have a problem with coming up with lyrics, and so it's the initial inspiration for a bass line. I think if we can use the AI to help stimulate and then bring to the next level, and I think that's where, as you said, Hayley, the conversation of thinking ahead and putting it into the right context of, okay, so how can it be utilized that we can still, because the reality is it's going to happen, right? We're computers and the opportunity for whether it's 3D or holographic or things that we can't even imagine being our day-to-day life is going to happen in some sort of context. And so we have to be smart about how we utilize it without losing the heart, without so that we still have the human touch with everything that we do, and still be able to benefit on the monetization for whoever is the creator, and allows for that longevity of making money, if it is your face, if it is your voice, if it is your human touch.
Just to drop in quickly, in the publishing industry, a lot of this is already happening, where writers who are the hacks who go out there and decide to put in ChatGPT to write chapters of novels, and this is happening, unfortunately. But it can be used as just a helpful tool, just as Dahlia mentioned, where it can assist you with a little bit, but instead of just making all the creativity and just basically stealing it from all the different things on the internet. So the publishing industry has been using it for book covers, for blurbs. I mean, so many things. So good and bad. And I think we need to put some kind of a control or a curbing factor or something over it to regulate it, basically. So,
in my understanding, I could be wrong, but the AI that they're using, where they're getting these scripts and getting this information to write it, is from other scripts they've read or sort of put into the digestion.
It harvests. It's like a Google. Yeah, it goes around the internet and just takes every possible creative thing out there, terrifyingly so, and it just mashes it together.
It's not truly original.
It's not always accurate either, actually.
Right.
It's getting better and better.
Right.
You're right, Richard. I mean, everything that is in that those computer systems is based on something that was originally created by a human being somewhere. So you have to sort of maybe, you know, the direction that everybody needs to look in is finding that original piece and making sure that that individual gets credit for and compensated for whatever it is they contributed to make this end thing come to be. I don't know how you do it. I mean,
well, I mean, you're right, Hayley, in that, you know, if it created an algorithm, that algorithm can be tracked, right? I mean, there's always a way for the computer to spit out where they got that source material. It's harder for a person to go back through and say, oh, I read this and I read that, and jot down all their source material. But the computer, it should be really easy to be able to spit out and then give credit to the, you know, and the Writers Guild is very, you know, my husband rewrote a screenplay that was written by someone who had deceased, and he literally took it and it was owned by a production company, and they said, here, you know, you need to update the script, and it's not working for when we want it. And he did a page 1 rewrite, but they absolutely made sure that the original writer was honored in right. In the writing of the screenplay, even though it was pretty much a completely different script if you put it side by side. But they're very, you know, it's important to the integrity of you know, keeping the honor for whoever created the original work. So there must be a way.
What was the biggest thing we all had to worry about growing up was plagiarism when we were writing school reports in school or college. And now college kids are using AI to write their reports and write the programs, and instructors having to go in and say, hey, wait a second, I caught this, you're plagiarizing, you're stealing. We always had to quote our source material, and that is changing. And that's the dangerous part, where you're right, somebody has to be credited for this. Somebody should get paid for it. If they wrote it originally and the computer is using, you know, 10 sentences from your husband's script in its new version, they should be credited. So it's a dangerous place, but I also understand technology. It is used in a lot of great ways, and we can't avoid it. We have to figure out how to live with it and how to make sure that we protect all the business.
I think one of the issues with the way Chat GP works, my understanding is it doesn't just go for one script and rip off part of that. It actually goes word by word. So it does one word and then has an algorithm where it looks for the next word, and then the next word, and then the next word. So, you know, there's not really one source. There might be thousands of sources for each word, you know, so that's another difficulty about it. So
it has to be regulated somehow. At some point, I'm sure it will be regulated, but right now it's very scary because it's new and people are taking advantage of it, helping or abusing it. So it's a very scary thing right now. It's like when the internet first came out. It's like this new thing that everyone is exposed to. And
well, I wanted to jump in really quick and say that we scheduled this panel for an hour, and the hour's up. I don't know if you guys want to keep going or you want to just make some wrap up comments. And
how are you guys feeling? You want to keep going for a little longer? Or?
I'm afraid I need to go because I do have a commitment. I have to drive. Those of you who are in LA, I have to go from Culver City up to Mulholland.
That'll take you a while. Yeah.
I'm driving with Hayley, so I have
my birthday. So
I'm sorry, I need to go as well.
And happy birthday, Kate.
Thank you.
Happy birthday.
All right, and meet all of you guys. I want to.
Thank you all for taking the time to come join us today. I know Richard's going to thank you as well, but we'd like to thank you on behalf of the convention. So thank you.
It was so amazing to have this panel. You're wonderful, all of you. Thank you.
Does anybody want to stay and talk longer, or no? Is everybody going? It's all good if you are.
I want to hear from Vera.
I just want to Brad, I want a rap video next week is my birthday, so.
Oh, there you go.
I was gonna say I want.
You got to give me pages of dirt, though.
When is your birthday, Shiva? When is your birthday?
Monday, May 29th.
Oh, May 25. So we're almost there. There you go.
29.
Happy almost birthday.
Memorial Day.
Maybe.
Listen, let me wrap up really quickly. First of all, Dahlia, thank you very much. If anybody hasn't seen Sweetwater, it's an absolutely beautiful film. It took 30 years to make. Please go on demand and watch it. Catch Rachel on Unstable. Catch Shiva on, I'm sorry, give me your 2 films that are out right now. The Threat Next Door and Burned by Love.
To be original. Yeah.
To be Threat Next Door, To Be Original, and Burned by Love. Brad, thank you for composing music for some of our favorite shows. Hayley, as always, thank you for your insightful knowledge today on the scripted and everything else that is happening. And Kate, happy birthday, enjoy tonight, and thank you for participating as well. Love you all, much appreciated.
Thank you
Much
all.
appreciated.
Thanks, Richard.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Take care.
Thank you.
Guys.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.